It was sometime in the late 1800s that a tired but ecstatic miner walked into a bar in Martini, California, and ordered a glass of champagne. According to the legend, he had struck gold and was looking to celebrate. The bartender, fresh out of champagne, but not wanting to disappoint the man, improvised and threw together a mixture of whatever he had on hand. That drink would go down in history, and through a centuries-long game of telephone, would later evolve into the modern-day martini. Hi, welcome to Cocktail Lore. My name is Rusty.
And I'm Sarah.
And this is the podcast all about cocktails and their history. Today joining us is our guest Christian, who's currently in the kitchen, probably doing things he's not supposed to. Say hi, Christian.
Well, hello there. Hi, my name is Christian. I was in the kitchen wicking up something delicious for the Cocktail Lore Hour. That is Rusty's famous Cocktail Lore Hour. Thanks for having me on the podcast. Happy to be here. Thanks for letting me use your kitchen.
For sure. So that first cocktail that we were telling the story of is the Martinez. Like I said, it originally started in California, and it's the predecessor to the Martini. So that's going to be the first drink. We're kind of going to be working out the format of this podcast a little bit. This is our first episode, which is going to be airing on Christmas. So
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Happy New Year's.
Happy Kwanzaa.
So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of experiment a little bit with this one and see how it goes. But we want this to kind of be a little more interactive. So we're going to be posting the recipes along with the cocktails that we're going to be drinking. And we're going to be tasting them for you on the podcast, talking about what they taste like, the history, all that kind of stuff. So for this specific one, we're actually going to be tasting the very first Martinez recipe that was ever printed. It was printed by O.H. Byron in 1884. And yeah, it's going to be pretty exciting.
O.H. Byron. Did they just call him like O. Byron?
Yeah, they were
like,
just
hey, O. Byron. What's going on?
That old Byron.
Oh, Byron. And FYI, while I was in the kitchen, I'm sure all the listeners are waiting in bated breath. Like I walked out here, I said I was whipping up something good. I gave them a little tease. What I've got in front of me here is some Folgers vanilla nut coffee with some brandy.
Whoa, no brand dropping.
I have some F-word coffee with some brandy in it. I was doing a little pre-drinking before the drinky show. I like to, get a little buzz going before we do some serious drinking here. So
Mine's a work in progress.
Yeah. So why don't we go around the circle and we'll kind of talk a little bit about each one of ourselves and why we specifically are taking part in this podcast. Let's do guests first.
Oh, thank you. Fantastic. So like Rusty said, my name is Christian. I'm actually the lead guitarist of Ultra Eagle. That is a passion project of mine. Which I've yet to get off the ground, but be waiting next December 2020. There may be an album release coming, so hold your breath for that or don't. But yeah, my background a little bit. I worked in bars and restaurants for a lot of my life, and I'm also a horrible alcoholic, so I'm here to try some drinks.
Yeah, so he's very qualified.
Highly qualified. I've been drunk many number of times, and also I know a fair bit about alcohol. Well, not very much. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, I'm excited to try some drinks and let the people know what I think.
Neat.
Okay.
All right. Well, everyone, don't hold your breath for a year, please. I'm looking at you all. So my name's Sarah. I live here, so I'm definitely in this podcast by proxy. But I'm also in bartending school, so I'm learning how to make these cocktails as I go. But yeah, I kind of got into drinking fairly recently. I originally was just before I met Rusty, I was actually just mixing Kahlua and almond milk in the comfort of my apartment. And it makes Rusty cringe every time I talk about it, which is why I'm getting it over with right now.
Yeah, that one hurts me deep in my soul.
It doesn't sound so bad.
I mean, I'm sure it tastes okay, but
also, like, at the same time, it's like...
Yeah.
It was always Kahlua.
I just remember you asking me to teach you how to drink because, like, you couldn't think of anything except for Kahlua and almond milk, and I was just like, I wouldn't even get you drunk.
He's like the Yoda of alcoholics. He's like the
in my circle, I definitely am.
He's like the wise grandmaster. Teach me how to drink, sir.
But anyways, so my background, I am an avid cocktail enthusiast. I am personally very, very fascinated by history and cocktails in general. So I got into cocktail craftery, if that's a word. I got into cocktails just as an enthusiast over the past year and a half or so. I have worked a single shadow shift as a barback in a craft cocktail bar, and that's the extent of my professional experience. But other than that, I like to look up recipes, try out different recipes. I like to read histories and stuff like that. Prior to any of this, I am a musician and I went to school for recording engineering, so hence the podcast aspect of things. And I've wanted to do a podcast forever, and this is the first time that I've really found something that I'm like, man, this is something I can like sink my teeth into. It'll kind of help me develop a little bit more and something that I love to do as a hobby, and kind of maybe teach some other people some things and, you know, have a lot of fun with. So.
Yeah, I mean, me personally, I'm just like excited to be on a podcast. I know this is the first one. I mean, obviously, as like a world famous musician myself, you'd think I'd do a lot of press, but I haven't actually, which is surprising for most people. But no, I'm really happy to be on here as like an avid listener to podcasts myself. Like especially like I really like the intro. Like it's definitely really fits like with the podcast. It's
awesome.
Very reminiscent of like a lot of like bigger podcasts I listen to. So I like it.
Yeah, I've got a specific podcast I really love. I don't know if you guys can guess it, but it's probably pretty obvious that I've kind of taken a little bit of notes from. But yeah, so without further ado, we're going to get into the first drink because I can see everybody's kind of itching to get drunk.
Oh, yeah.
And
Please.
I'm really excited because I've never actually tried a Martinez cocktail. So this drink is... we're going to post instructions on how to make it and everything in the description, but just kind of a quick overview of the drink. Actually, you know what? We're going to make the drink and then I will describe it to you guys. And then we're going to taste test it. So we're going to go ahead and put this on pause. Alrighty, welcome back. So we have our drinks. So we are all very happy right now. So none of us have gotten a chance to taste it yet. So let's go around in a circle and do first impressions prior to tasting.
Oh boy, I cannot wait.
So what do you guys think of the way it looks? It's kind of a... We're going to post pictures of it, but it's definitely not what you normally think of.
It's orange.
First off, let me say, I know when people think Christmas, you're definitely thinking Martini. So let's get that out of the way. This is a nice looking festive drink for a Christmas occasion, and honestly, I feel like Christmas in the 1950s would have been just like, hey, pass me that Martini, see? Something like that sort of thing. So,
You know.
did we
It
say
smells good.
we have the Martinez in front of
Yeah.
us?
It smells pretty good. It
Does-
smells very orangey.
It does smell
Oh yeah, it
delightful.
does.
Yeah.
Orange notes.
Yeah, I think it's a very attractive looking drink. It's got a very classic look to it. It's kind of got like a pinkish orangey color to it.
Yeah.
Did you try it already?
I did. I gave it a first sip. I
no.
thought we said go around and I get the first sip and then she
Oh,
goes.
we'll do that. We'll do
I
that.
I
mean-
thought that's what we were doing. But
Nice.
either way, I mean, I can't see how you guys aren't just drinking it right now. I mean, this thing is actually really delicious. I've never
Yeah.
had a Martinez before. I said I worked at bars, but I actually just washed the dishes and I would try all the drinks that would come back. And so I drank a lot of martinis. Like there was a lot of martinis sent back for sure. But not a Martinez. This is an interesting drink. It's sweet. It's like a little bit tart. It's got like a nice orange notes to it. I like it quite a bit.
Yeah, would you order this at a bar from now on?
If it tasted like this, like I definitely would order it.
Awesome.
I mean, obviously, like I've had martinis before, and like I'm not a big fan. So like when you invited me on this episode, I was like, hell yeah, I can't wait to come on and try some cocktails. But then it was like martinis. I was like, okay, I'll still come do it. But I'm very, very like, I mean, my expectations were low because we were drinking martinis, and so like. After like the first sip, I'm like, I'm very pleasantly surprised.
Well, now
by
we know
this.
how desperate you are to promote your band.
That too, yeah.
No, okay, Sarah, it's your turn. Wait, first impressions look-wise.
I barely had my lips on it, Rusty.
You know what? I'm gonna make you say what you think and what does it smell like? What do you think of
Well,
the look?
it definitely smells very orangey. It doesn't have that burn your nose alcohol smell to it, but that also might just be the gin we chose. But yeah, I never expected to have a martini that would smell like oranges, so I'm very curious about that.
All right, so go ahead and do your tasting.
I'm gonna take a nipper, and you can't stop me this time. Oh, that is weird.
Weird good or weird bad?
It almost makes me think of your Negronis, but I don't hate it. So.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
I feel like that's a pretty good description. It's kind of looks like it's a little lighter than a
It's
Negroni.
got a lot of the orange flavors that your Negronis do have.
Without the bitterness.
Right, without the bitterness and without the in your face. This is gonna melt the paint off the insides.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited. This is one of the few cocktails that I know about that I haven't really tried yet. So this is pretty epic moment for me right now.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
I've definitely heard about these, obviously from the martini and the variations of it, but yeah.
It does smell really good, and it kind of does. There's a lot of it that reminds me of a Negroni so far.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's different. I'm usually not a big fan of sweet vermouth unless it's a Negroni, but this I'm not mad at all actually.
Right?
I feel like it kind of has an apricot sort of finish on it
Yeah.
too. I don't know why I'm tasting
No, I
apricot
kinda get what you mean.
and definitely orange off the nose through a
Yeah.
big whiff of it very orangey, but yeah,
I think it's
I don't know.
specifically dried apricot.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm tasting in the
Yeah.
back of my
That
tongue.
must be the vermouth.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
thinking?
kind of what
Yeah.
I'm thinking. I mean,
Yeah.
I suppose, but yeah, no, I'm pleasantly surprised by this drink. This
Yeah.
is very
Yeah.
good. I did not expect.
Yeah, I can see why
Martinez
it was
tastes
such a
good.
popular drink back in the 1800s
Yeah.
and stuff.
You definitely want a gin that's not gonna bite you, but it's pretty good.
Yeah, so a little bit about Old Tom Gin. So Old Tom Gin was the gin in the United States that would have been the most popular during the time this drink was invented, which is why we've used Old Tom. Oh, we didn't even talk about what the profile of this drink is.
So we were so wrapped
Yeah.
up in just getting the drinks themselves. 'Cause
Yeah.
I mean, we're looking at them.
Yeah.
They arrive on their table, and we're just like, home.
So the ingredients in this drink are this, and again, this is from O.H. Byron's Modern Bartender. That was published in 1884. It is the oldest published recipe for a Martinez. The interesting thing about it is, in the recipe, the Manhattan is right above it, and the recipe for the Martinez literally just says same as Manhattan, but substitute Old Tom. Or it says substitute gin. It doesn't specify Old Tom, but that's just what they would have done back then.
That explains a lot. This is exactly a Manhattan. That's basically.
So the
But it's a
interesting
little
thing-
bit lighter and there's no cherry.
Yeah, and that's the interesting thing is the way that I know the Manhattan to be made is a 2-1-2 ratio. So 2 ounces of whatever whiskey that you want to do. Usually I think it's traditionally rye, and then 1 ounce of sweet vermouth, and then 2 dashes of bitters. This is actually different because it's 2 dashes of curacao. So I just did a bar spoon.
That's where you get that
per drink.
orange sort of citrusy
Yeah.
flavor from.
So that was kind of interesting. I saw a lot of recipes that had different stuff in it. So the more conventional modern Martinez is going to be maraschino, but a lot of the classic ones that I saw were all, instead of maraschino, it was orange, which I thought was really interesting. And then 2 dashes of Angostura, and then equal parts Old Tom Gin and vermouth. So that's a pretty interesting way to make a Manhattan to me. I'd never heard of it with orange in a Manhattan before. And I also think it's kind of interesting there's no garnish to this drink.
Yeah, that kind of I thought you were just cheaping out on us for a little bit. I was like, okay, because there was a ton of garnish stuff in the kitchen there when I was in there rummaging around. Obviously, I saw all that, and yeah, so when I got this drink out here, after Rusty put a lot of preparation to it and I saw no garnish, I was a little disappointed, but I do have this beautiful glass here, and the drink itself definitely doesn't need a garnish. It holds up.
Yeah.
Sarah, any other impressions on this before we kind of move on?
Not a ton. But yeah, this is my first cocktail with Old Tom, and we tasted it the other night, which, I mean, for how much we paid on the bottle, it wasn't amazing, but I can see where where it's applicable for sure.
Yeah, I think the big thing for Sarah and I is we're very much like gin drinkers. We love our like super floral botanical gins, and Old Tom is not one of those types of gins.
It's more of like almost a whiskey feeling to it, for sure.
Yeah, this specific one is aged in bourbon barrels, so it's got a very bourbony kind of like taste to it. But yeah, it's definitely different from what you think of when you think of gin. I've read somewhere that like Old Tom is considered the missing link between Genever and like dry gin, which kind of makes sense. Now that I've tried it, it totally makes sense. So cool. So I thought next we would talk about some famous martini drinkers.
Yeah. Well, we should definitely start chugging this stuff.
Santa
before we get
Claus.
to the next one.
The world's
Am I
most
right?
famous martini drinker.
Yeah.
You can look that up.
Oh wait, did we have something else we were gonna? Okay. So we were gonna talk about.
I should probably tell them what the specs are on this thing.
Yeah. The sweet
We still
vermouth.
didn't, you still didn't talk about that? I thought you,
Yeah, no. So one thing that's interesting before we get on to like famous martini drinkers, because that actually leads us to our next drink, and we don't want to be too, I still have like half a drink left.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So we want to finish these first. So
Yeah,
one of the
absolutely.
interesting things about the cocktail after a while was this eventually evolved into a martini, right? So as you can see, it's very different from what the modern day martini looks like.
Absolutely.
But supposedly this miner, the whole legend at the beginning of the podcast, he went to somebody in San Diego and tried to recount the recipe and dictate to the bartender how to make it. But according to what they believe, he fucked up in dictating it. And so they just substituted with whatever they thought would work. And so the recipe has changed again and again and again over the years, and it's kind of gotten more and more convoluted. It used to be whenever you went to order a martini specifically.
I finished mine.
Well, she had the small one, so you know what? Also, I've been doing more talking. Sir talks a lot.
Yeah, jeez.
Yeah.
I'm the research guy. Sorry,
I know.
I've got
Yeah.
all the
That's
research.
alright. You got a lot.
You with
got,
your-
obviously
Your beautiful
you have
mind
a
notes
lot of
over there.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, I
factoids
haven't even
here.
looked at my notes more than
I
like
know.
twice. So eventually, there was a point where you actually had to specify that you wanted a dry martini, which means that you wanted dry vermouth as opposed to sweet vermouth. And then eventually, it became that dry vermouth was the norm. And then at some point, they started doing like less and less vermouth. So it's kind of a weird progression that happened, and I'm not 100% sure what it had to do with, but I do know that vermouth used to be a really big beverage among just the world in general. It used to be like an aperitif, like you'd sip it before dinners and stuff like that. So people used to just drink some vermouth like straight, and then they started adding stuff to it. So like a predecessor to the Martinez is like the vermouth cocktail.
I think the thing about that is the more what's kind of happened is you've gotten like better alcohol. I want to say like I feel like really the whole reasoning behind the less and less vermouth is like the more access to better things, because people used to go to the library, but now you go on the computer because you have better access, and it's like you used to drink vermouth. But that was like just after Prohibition. That's probably all they had left because no one was drinking vermouth. I personally hate vermouth. Obviously, that's where I'm coming from, and I don't have good things to say about it. I wouldn't. I would only ever use it. I mean, I guess you would really only ever use it as a mixer. So I'm gonna say like the decline and like you could make a chart where you see like martinis at the top with like vermouth in them, and then it's like a bar that's trending down, and that's like access to like better liquor. It's like.
See, but at the
Less
same
vermouth.
time, like, because I agree with you, I'm not really a big fan of vermouth, dry or sweet. But I will say that it definitely adds something special to certain cocktails. Like Sarah mentioned, I really love my Negronis. I drink Negronis all the time. So I think it works really well in those. And I like my martinis a little bit more along the lines of traditional portions. But yeah, the original martini recipe even used to be half vermouth. It used to be a 50-50 concoction with orange bitters.
And now you just call that a perfect martini. Like if people go to a bar and they order a perfect martini, like that's what you get is the half and half.
Yeah.
Which is Yeah, I guess that's what it's referred to as
Yeah.
now. But that is no perfect anything
Yeah.
to me.
No. One day we'll talk about the Rusty Perfect Martini, but that's a different story.
Oh,
Yeah. I almost wonder if they like cut back on the vermouth and just go straight gin. That's like a bragging right.
That's what it kind of seems like eventually. Like, going from there, why don't you tell us about famous cocktail drinkers, famous martini drinkers specifically?
Oh, well, I conveniently have my copy of the notes here on this Google document that I've pulled up on my phone.
I didn't do all the research.
I did all the research.
Christian,
Thank you.
we invited him
for
3
giving
days
me
ago,
credit.
and we were like, we want to do a podcast, but we don't have any idea, and he threw all this together for us. We're just actors.
Absolutely.
They don't know what they're doing here. Well, let me set the scene. We're sitting in the kitchen with bath sheets on the walls, and there's
They're curtains.
but I don't know what a bath sheet is. I
What's
confuse two things.
Yeah.
Bed
What
sheets
is
and
a bath sheet?
But there are curtains, and that's like our studio here. We have one microphone sitting in the middle of the table. So this is real. This is raw.
Yeah.
This is uncut. We're drinking and we're talking and we're making radio.
Cheers.
This is empty. Let me get the other one.
Sarah's late.
That's right.
So, who is the most famous cocktail drinker
Aside
of
from
Oh
all
man,
time?
we have a couple here. I'm gonna have to say Ernest Hemingway.
Wait, whoa.
Yo.
But who's the one that leads us to our next drink?
Oh, yo.
Sorry.
Wow.
We didn't talk about
Come
this
on,
part.
the segue.
Wow. Here I am with my copy of these notes. And
I wrote.
They're out of order.
it's absolutely out of order.
See, I've got this great
There's no
itinerary.
order.
I've got this great itinerary in my mind.
Give me a
If you
hint.
guys could just get on my level.
He's a secret agent.
Yeah. You would be the worst tour guide. Can I just say that?
Oh man, but it'd be all in my head.
Don't work at, do not get a job touring, giving tours to people at the Grand Canyon. People will die, Rusty, with your itinerary you've got in mind.
But yeah, this next guy, he's a secret agent, right? That's what
Yeah,
we're talking about?
he is
Yeah.
a secret
And his
agent
catchphrase
man.
is, "Are you horny, baby?" We're talking about Austin Powers, right?
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah, baby.
No.
Actually, speaking of Austin Powers, I did not plan this at
Ah.
all. Sarah,
Speaking of Austin
Sarah
Powers,
has
that's
a very interesting story about Austin
Awesome,
Powers.
really?
Hey,
Wow, this
it's
is
not
random.
what you
I
think,
love
you guys. I just took a dance class on a cruise ship when I was 13. I was the youngest person on that dance floor. Everyone else was middle-aged old lady,
What kind of cruise was this? Was this Carnival Cruises?
It
Or
was
what?
absolutely was.
Oh, hell yeah.
But I mean, I know a little bit of some Austin Power dance moves. I
Sounds
can't
like
do them
love.
well, but I can do them because Tony, the dance instructor on the boat, taught me how to do them. All right.
He made you do them.
Was it
You weren't
Tony
get- you
or
weren't getting off.
Tony?
You weren't getting off that boat unless you were doing it because of the implications.
Hey man, all I know is that
Out
there's
on
a
the
video
water.
at my house and my parents' house, and they definitely have a copy of that video. And I'm wearing the worst outfit ever because I was allowed to dress myself for some reason.
I thought it looked pretty good. I thought it was hip. It was fly. It was what was in. It's
I
just what
mean-
kids were wearing. As we see.
Yellow highlighter, tank top,
High
and
fashion.
deep pink plaid shorts and a fedora. I nailed
It's
it.
hot.
Like Austin Powers himself,
Oh yeah.
a man of mystery. But no,
International Man of Mystery, man. What
So-
a movie. What a career Mike Myers. But I digress. This is the cocktail hour, not
Yeah.
the Mike Myers hour. R.I.P. He's not actually dead.
Rusty, you don't even have that movie quote on
Knock
here.
on wood.
I do have it in my head.
Yeah, I bet you do.
Shaken, not stirred.
It is shaken,
Um,
not stirred.
I don't have it in my head.
Oh, hang on. I actually found it.
That's a quote you're
I
thinking of?
told you it was in there.
It's not marked with quotations. It's marked with apostrophes.
Anyways, Sarah, take it away.
Take it away,
Ah!
Sarah.
It's also from the book. Alrighty, so 3 measures of Gordon's, 1 of vodka, half a measure of Kina Lillet. Shake very well until it's ice cold, then add a large thin slice of lemon peel. Got it?
You sound angry.
Wait, who said that?
Because it's marked with apostrophes!
Okay, who's that a quote from? Was that Winston Churchill?
That is absolutely not Winston Churchill.
Adolf
That
Hitler?
is...
So, to get back on track a little bit more here, this is the Vesper Martini. So the
Ooh.
Vesper Martini is named after
Scary.
Vesper Lind from the James Bond series. It was created by Ian
Oh.
Fleming using an ingredient that sadly doesn't exist anymore. But
R.I.P..
there are some substitutions that can kind of work that are accepted today. So we're gonna do one of those drinks, and we will. Let's talk a little bit about the Bond stuff prior to that. So, Bond ordered many drinks throughout the Bond series, but this is probably the most famous. This is the only one that actually made its own cocktail.
Did he order many drinks? I always thought it was...
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong here. I've never seen a single James Bond movie except for Skyfall. I saw that one. Daniel Craig. Beautiful man.
Adele.
But I only ever thought it was just like the quote is, and it might be like one of those things where like, Luke, I am your father, like the wrong quote sort of thing, but I thought it was just like, I'll take a martini, like shaken, not stirred. Is that not...
No, so
He does something else?
the original quote was what she read. It's
what movie was that
said,
from? Octopussy?
So
no,
I just wanted to say Octopussy.
that one's
You're
from
terrible.
Casino Royale.
Octopussy.
So do you want to? Is the beginning of that quote there?
the beginning of that quote, I've just got the part of the quote.
Oh, that's the other Daniel Craig one.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Oh, so
But-
we're not talking like
So he does order the drink
Pierce
in the movie.
What about Pierce Brosnan though? Or do they all order the?
So
Or am I
yeah,
just
if
getting
you
off
if you
track
go
here?
back, they all order kind of different drinks.
Oh, okay.
The one consistent theme is shaken, not stirred.
Right. Yeah. That's what I.
But in the first time that he ever ordered a drink that was printed in the book, it was the Vesper Martini.
Oh, there was a
So
book.
yeah, so
of
this is
course.
the Casino Royale book, which was ages ago.
Oh.
And basically, they had this great. Actually, it was probably a terrible cocktail. This Quina Lillet was supposed to be really bitter, so I don't know if it would have even been good. But the actual ingredient doesn't exist anymore, so we can't even try the original. We can try something similar, but not the actual original. The
Like Quaaludes.
yeah, the new one, the closest thing that we can get to it is delicious. I think my battery is running low. Scramble. So we are back, and we had a little bit of a scare with the battery on the laptop, but we took that as an opportunity to go ahead and make these Vesper Martinis. So as we were kind of getting into beforehand, they were popularized by the James Bond series. One of the huge distinctions being that it is shaken, not stirred. Which of course is the Bond famous catchphrase. There's like a lot of conversation as to why they chose to do that. A lot of gin enthusiasts believe that if you shake a gin like cocktail, it bruises the gin,
Yeah.
especially for like a martini, which is supposed to be something that's like more focused on the gin and stuff. So a lot of people believe that Bond shook the cocktail in order to dilute it further so he could have his head clearer for being able to do secret spy shit.
I like that explanation
Yeah.
because I always thought it was like blasphemous to like be shaking martinis.
Also, like, no gin in the tin is a thing, but of course now the gin, like, the tins are made of stainless steel, so it doesn't matter.
I kind of think
As
that's
much.
stupid.
What
I
the,
think
I
that
mean-
explanation, it's like,
I mean, I'm glad they have like some explanation. Like,
yeah, it's
like,
better than nothing.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, because I kind of thought he was just doing it to be a dick sometimes.
Yeah.
Because it was like, because the bartender is naturally just gonna shake the thing, but I
Yeah.
thought he was just like being
I
like,
mean-
"Oh, I'm the old James Bond. I'm the alpha
Well,
here.
the
You
martini,
shake that thing for
you
me."
wouldn't though. You
Yeah,
wouldn't. You're not
that's
supposed to.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying he would do that
Yeah.
just to be like a dick.
We call that a pro gamer move here in the industry.
That pro gamer move, exactly.
The industry of killing
Can
bad
we
guys.
Yeah, let's get around this. So let's go in the same order. Christian, you
But
get
before
you get
that,
first.
so we don't miss it, and also I'm just really curious, what is in the Vesper here? What is?
I
what
want
are
you
the
to drink it
ratios?
first, and then we will go over. What's
Am
in
I
it.
going to like it? Because now this looks more like a
Scary.
martini.
Scary.
Like this looks like the thing that I don't like to drink.
Yeah, I think you'll
Wow.
be pleasantly surprised.
I mean, it smells delightful. Like it has a nice like lemony. Obviously, there's a lemon peel in there, but let's dive on in here. It is okay. It's not bad. It's. I would even go so far to say it's pretty good. Yeah, it does. I mean, I definitely. I don't know. It's hard to say what this tastes like. It's a very clear drink. I don't want to. It doesn't taste like water, obviously, but it tastes. It has like a nice faint alcohol taste. A little bit of sweet from the vermouth, I suppose. And then. Yeah, I'm kind of at a loss here. I don't really know how to describe this.
Reminds me a little bit of like seltzer water.
Yeah, it's kind of like a flat seltzer water.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
how I would describe it. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I think it's pretty good. So
So
go
not-
ahead and
it's
move
not
on to
bad.
Sarah.
All right. I abstained from smelling it up until right now, so that way I didn't have any feelings. But it smells very lemony for reasons that are obvious. I can actually see some of like the lemon zest on top of it, which is pretty cool. But I'm gonna take a sip now. It's not bad. I personally can taste the vodka in it, which is not my thing. But I mean, for a with something within the martini family, I love gin. I don't dig martinis. I think that's a little bit too cut and dry.
Yeah.
Gin joke.
Yes. Okay.
Was this the vodka that I brought?
Yeah. This is
It
about
definitely, yeah. I don't know. I mean, I brought. I was in a quick kind of a rush, and I didn't. I mean, it's obviously not the highest quality vodka, but
Yeah, no.
I'm actually surprised because I don't really taste the vodka so much. Like it definitely tastes more. I taste more of the sweet and more of the lemon.
Yeah. I personally am not tasting it as much as sweet. I'm definitely tasting like the lemon zest in it, but I'm mostly just getting I'm mostly picking up on the vodka for myself.
So my impression of this drink, I actually drank this while I was still doing
Cheater.
research, because it sounded interesting, and I had never had one, so I was curious about it. And the recipe that I'd found was a little different than this one. There's a million different Vesper Martini recipes out there, because, like I said, the quina lile, which is like one of the ingredients that's in the original one, doesn't exist anymore. So the closest ingredient to that is called Lillet Blanc. And so that's what most of the recipes call for these days. So that's what we use today. And it's like a French aperitif. So it's similar to like a vermouth, but it's a little bit kind of like sweeter and more fragrant than like a dry vermouth or even like a red vermouth. So it's definitely a lot sweeter. We actually use it in quite a few different cocktails that we use around, like that we make around the house a lot of times. But what were you saying?
Sorry to cut you if I was cutting you off,
Yeah, go
but now you mentioning the Lillet or the Lillet, however you say. I used to say Lillet Rouge
Yeah.
or Lillet Blanc. We had both. I've seen both of them. Like that's a pretty common like fortified wine. That's definitely what is giving it like the better flavor for me. Because
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, I'm sure I mentioned already. I am not a fan of vermouth. Like it's just got like
Yeah.
a sickly sweet, medicinal sort of flavor that I
Yeah.
don't like. But the Lillet or the Lillet, people are probably going to crucify me for however I'm pronouncing it. But regardless, that stuff does have like a much like lighter flavor. Like it's
You can
it's
actually
really
drink that
more. It's
straight
like a
and it's
light
decent,
wine.
yeah.
I mean,
I
it is a
drink
fortified
it
wine. You
straight.
could,
Yeah, it's very tasty.
And it's really good as like a mixer. Like both of them are good mixers and cocktails. They make great cocktails.
So the other ingredients, and we read them earlier, the actual Bond quote, but it's actually, what was it again? It's like 3 parts.
Yeah, I forgot we read that, and you totally went over that.
It's like 3 parts gin, 1 part vodka, and then 0.5 ounces.
So this
of
is
Lillet
gin
Blanc.
and vodka.
It's gin
Okay,
and
so
vodka.
that's why I don't
Yeah.
taste. That's why I don't taste the
Yeah.
vodka for sure. Like,
Yeah. So it kind of
It's
dials
strange.
down
Like
some of the gin,
it's
but
like they almost like
Yeah.
cross each other out.
I think one
Yeah.
of the things to note too is the gin that we decided to use for this is a local gin that's like very muted in flavor. So it's not like a lot of the gins that are very junipery
Yeah.
and stuff. This one's more kind of a citrus kind of
Yeah.
note to it.
Which is like perfect for
Yeah,
for
which
this
is really
cocktail.
Yeah.
perfect for this one. And it's, so this is a very like mild, like I said, kind of like seltzer watery. So this is a very, I think it's a very pleasant cocktail. It's like not something that feels super heavy, but it is.
Yeah,
So-
the flat seltzer water is like spot on. That's really kind of what this tastes like. Which is
But it's still
okay.
crisp. It's very.
it is
like,
very crisp.
It's a very refreshing.
Like
drink.
I think
Yeah.
if you drink martinis, like you would really like this one.
I think the main thing about this drink is, and this kind of goes back to where this drink lands in terms of like its iconography in history, is that like it's badass. People that drink martinis, they seem so sophisticated and like cool,
You definitely do,
right? That's why Bond drinks martinis.
And that's
'cause he's
a
badass.
mistake that I've made before when I was in my younger years and I had just turned 21 and I thought I was gonna look cool ordering a martini at a club in Scottsdale, but unfortunately, the bartenders were more accustomed to just kind of like grabbing Coors Lights out of the fridge, and so essentially I got a nice like glass here, like I have in front of me, but it was like about half full of olive juice, and then the other half was probably like some like cheap vodka and
Something in
some
the well.
vermouth. But yeah, that was my first experience with a martini, which is like most people, when you have a bad first experience with something, it haunts you for the rest of your days.
Yeah, and
that's
was
how I feel.
very similar to mine, where like I would get drunk in bars, specifically when I was in bars. I would be like, I'd get to this certain level of drunk where I'm like,
I'm feeling fancy.
Yeah,
right.
You're like, I'm fucking cool.
I'm feeling myself.
Yeah,
like
I can drink a fucking.
I'm wearing
I'm
I'm wearing a blazer.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna order like the coolest looking cocktail.
I got my,
Y'all sound like a bunch of James Bond weeaboos.
right.
Basically, yeah, that's about right.
So you get to that level of drunk where you're like, I'm a
accurate
cool,
description.
smooth motherfucker. And
Yeah.
you go up and you go, the martini shaken, not stirred. And
That's very accurate.
and the bartender
We're
goes,
not far from that.
whatever, asshole. And then what does he do? He puts like 3 drops of vermouth in a glass, and then he shakes some vodka and pours it in a glass for you. So you have chilled vodka with like a few drops of vermouth, and that sucks because I don't like vodka. So eventually,
Or vermouth.
the vermouth is it's like 3 drops. They barely do any of it.
Yeah, but do you like it?
I mean, it's okay. I mostly like it in martinis.
Yeah, he's looking for a martini, and they're giving him cold vodka.
Yeah,
and that's typically what you get.
But I didn't know any better, and so
Yeah.
for a while I would have this thing where every time I'd get drunk I'd be like, I can do it. I'm a martini guy, and I wasn't. And then eventually somebody was like, hey, why don't you order a gin martini? And I was like, what's gin? And that was kind of like the big kind of tipping point for me was I had one in a bar and it was delicious.
And
I ordered a dirty gin martini.
That's kind of strange because like, well, maybe it's not strange because I guess like if you go to like an Applebee's or Chili's or no free advertisement here, but if you go there and you order a martini, like they give you like vodka with like,
like
a
the
little bit of
worst martinis, yeah.
But if you go to like a craft cocktail place, like I've worked at some craft cocktail places, and typically like you order a martini and it automatically comes with gin. Like it's not gonna come with vodka unless you specify like this guy wants vodka.
Well, and the craft guys, like the traditionalists, they know that they will do
Absolutely.
that unless you specify.
Oh, and they are like really serious about it. Like people get offended.
It's one of
like
the
they
most,
seriously get offended.
It's one of the biggest like lines you can really step over. It's like it's one of those things where it's like, okay, like how do you make your martini, and then like how do you make your old fashioned? That's the other one. That's
and who do you
huge.
pray to? And then it's
right?
like. Get out of here.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like this huge thing in the craft cocktail world, and
Don't they call it like a bartender's handshake or something?
no, that's a different.
That's
thing.
a sexual thing. We won't get into.
not
We
sexual.
won't get into that.
That's a completely
that's
different
what
cocktail.
we call a yikes from me dog.
That's actually Sarah's favorite cocktail.
That's her favorite.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it is. She knows that. She
I
just
know.
wants to talk about the aviation.
Hey,
We'll do that.
hey.
Next episode after the next 4 episodes.
Look,
we
that is
already
the
have planned.
only kind of plane I dig. Otherwise, flying is the most harrowing thing, but I can at least pretend to be like a mile flight. I'm into like planes and stuff like that because I will drink that drink and we will talk about that in a different episode, but not tonight.
You don't like flying though?
No.
That was loud.
I'm going on a flight on New Year's Eve. And I don't really like flying either, and I'm kind of nervous. But that's like apparently the cheapest day to fly, and like a ticket to Vegas was like $25.
Wow.
Also, I'll be in Vegas New Year's Eve. Anyone out there, look me up.
Yeah.
Let's party.
Rosiv, what if you get
I'll
hit by
be
a
Very handsome,
firework?
ladies.
I will definitely be gambling. I'll probably be at Harris. If you see me at the tables, come say what's up. Give me some money. I am a degenerate, and I need to support my habits.
Okay.
Wow.
So we are at well over 40 minutes, and we still have a drink to go. So let's go ahead and move on to our famous drinkers, because that was what this whole section was supposed to be about.
I mean, sure.
So Sarah, why don't you lead us through the famous drinkers?
Alrighty, well, let me go ahead and take a peek at this list here. So let's see here. I'm gonna just pick my favorite ones right quick here.
Mm-hmm.
So, oh boy, where is it? There's nothing in here that is in order.
That's okay.
This is
all
a
good.
harrowing.
It's all great stuff. Just
Well,
spout it.
All that I really dig, like my favorite one is definitely by Humphrey Bogart. Just before passing away, these were his final words, like on his deathbed, like getting ready to croak, holding his wife's hand. I don't know if he like was married or if he like outlived his wife, but I'm just gonna pretend.
She got off on a plane. Remember?
I wasn't there.
I don't know. I've never actually seen Casablanca, but
No.
yeah. But anyways, continue.
I'm sure
Regardless,
it's a great movie.
his one of these most famous quotes regarding the martini was that he never should have switched from scotch over to martinis.
Do you want to try that again?
Do I?
I don't know.
I think we got it.
Yeah,
But
cool.
for the people out
But-
there, what did he say?
I never should have switched from scotch to martinis,
Yeah.
and that is from again Humphrey Bogart just before he passed away.
Which
R.I.P.
if you guys aren't familiar
Ripperoni,
with Humphrey
Passeroni.
Bogart, he is famous for saying the quote, "Of all the gin joints in all the world, she had to walk into mine." So for somebody who had
Gin joints.
said that, I mean, obviously he wished he would have gone to a Scotch joint, right?
Right?
Instead of a.
I think he also said, "I'm too drunk to taste this chicken." That is another
Did
one
he
of his
really
quotes. He
say
may
that?
that may have been Colonel Sanders. I may have been confused,
I am looking this up
but
as we speak.
pretty
Well,
sure.
now I'm really worried about Colonel Sanders.
Also, these drinks are strong, folks.
This is the part of the podcast where it starts to get belligerent.
Still got one more
Hey,
to go.
hey.
Don't
no.
try this at home.
I have a list to go from, okay? We've got Winston Churchill,
That's
the
right.
former Prime Minister of the UK. He favored a very dry martini, and he would actually, like, you know, he famously said that the only way to make a martini was with ice cold gin and a bow in the direction of France.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know about
Give him
you,
a France.
but, like, you know, I didn't learn my directions until very recently when I had to, like, move out here and learn which way was west.
You didn't learn which way's up and down?
I was a bad Girl Scout, okay, Christian? But,
Well, I guess all you guys do is peddle your cookies.
I mean, I
Wait,
didn't even do that very
So
well.
which way is France?
I mean, I guess south from where he was. Okay.
Yeah,
South
I mean,
France.
south what?
Cans.
South west. Don't look at me like that.
No,
you
it's-
look
it's-
so disappointed in me.
No, I'm just curious. I'm just
All
wanting to know where you're at in the world.
Who's
and
another
I wanna
famous
know.
martini drinker?
Yeah, let's see.
Oh,
let's see
yeah.
that.
Well, I've also got Franklin Roosevelt, who was actually known to travel with a martini kit because he just loved martinis so much.
That's the guy with polio, right?
I mean,
Was it?
was it?
FDR?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was
FDR?
in the wheelchair.
Yeah,
right?
man. Notable martini drinker.
I thought he was
I don't
kinda,
know
like,
if that's
hunting a bunch.
related.
No, I think you're thinking of Robin Williams.
Also a great president.
Robin!
That's who's on the $100 bills. So
Oh.
don't be.
No, he was great in that role. That was a perfect role for him.
Wait,
I love
no,
Okay.
him.
that's,
Captain,
that's
my captain?
Theodore Roosevelt, right? That's Teddy
No,
Roosevelt.
Teddy Roosevelt was a Rough Rider. He was riding into battle. Dude.
Yeah,
he was
man.
actually kicking ass.
Yeah.
FDR was the guy in the wheelchair.
No, but I'm saying Robin Williams in the movie.
Oh yeah, in
Yeah,
Night.
that was-
Are we talking about Night at the Museum now?
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta get on this level here.
Yeah.
Okay, if we're
You
talking
need to
about
drink more.
film,
Night
Funny.
at the
You're
Museum
right about that.
was
We're talking about
a
film classics.
god-tier film.
That's right.
And I don't know who is going to say
We keep
otherwise.
clipping the microphone, guys.
I'm so sorry,
okay.
but I'm not.
So, anyways, so that was FDR. So, like, he traveled with a martini kit. I feel like that's my future.
Is it?
Travel with a
Probably.
martini kit,
Yeah, I mean,
and you're the president.
yeah, I mean, maybe. Who knows? You know,
Who
I mean,
knows?
if clowns can do it.
If this podcast takes off,
This podcast.
we're all podcases here.
I mean,
This
I
is
feel like a
this is
podcast.
the podcast files. We're investigating the JFK murder.
Oh,
Only the
Lord.
most intense cases are accepted.
That's right.
I also get a kick out of Homer Simpson.
He's a martini drinker. I thought he just.
I
drank
thought he
Duff.
just, I thought he just drank
Duff
Duff
Man.
as well.
Yeah.
Well, I saw Duff over at that candy shop that I went shopping over at recently, but
Rocket Fizz.
no,
No free ads.
no free ads, no free ads. Hashtag DM me. But Homer Simpson is cited as saying, quoting, "He knows how I like my martini, full of alcohol."
That's generally how I like mine, actually.
Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to the next one because I'm ready for something that's full of alcohol.
man.
Yeah. So, do we have any more? I think we had
Yeah,
more.
who
right?
else is
I
famous
have
and drinks martinis?
So many, but
Are
I'm
there
gonna
any like
mispronounce-
sickos? Jack the Ripper. He drank martinis, I'm sure.
They didn't identify who that guy is.
Oh,
so
actually, they
maybe.
believe it was H.H. Holmes.
I've heard. I heard that theory.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right?
it totally could be because like
Yeah,
there's a
because
thing
he-
where he like went to London. Also, he killed like hundreds of people,
Yeah,
and no
he
one
was an
knew
expert.
about it.
He was really good at it. Yeah, I love.
Oh yeah, H.H. Holmes.
Yeah.
Look him up, people. Serial killer.
Yeah.
Chicago World's Fair, 1920s. Built a murder hotel.
Yeah, if you guys.
Insane.
It was a murder apartment complex.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was.
Yeah.
Are you
No,
sure it was a
It was an
hotel?
apartment complex.
I'm
They
sure
did-
he was doing both.
I think what you're thinking of is
The movie?
American Horror Story Hotel.
That too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Also,
Yeah.
the collector.
You're thinking American Horror
Yeah.
Story.
They-
and the
that was
Collector.
based off.
But
of
no,
that.
H.H. Holmes fucking super creepy,
Super crazy.
cool shit. But he was a genius. Like as much as he may have been evil.
He was very misunderstood.
No, I mean it's like it's one of those things where it's like he was evil, but he was still intelligent. Like,
Yeah,
as
no, he was
fuck.
smart.
Yeah.
He was a smart.
Yeah,
smart
no,
guy.
but it's fascinating.
He
If
knew
you
how
love-
to get some. He knew how to kill people.
If you love creepy shit, then
Yeah,
H.H.
look that
Holmes
up.
is definitely for you.
That's creepy.
There's an episode on a podcast that I actually no free ads except for the podcast that I love, which is Lore.
He does
by
H.H. Holmes
Aaron
one? I
Mankey.
think I
He does a
listened to
whole
that.
episode on H.H.
Yeah.
Holmes. And
There
like
you
pretty much
are.
every other creepy thing.
Full circle mentioning that
Fangirl.
podcast that you were like.
I mean,
I bet
that-
you guys can figure
that's-
out which one it is that I like.
I would give that a free ad though,
I'm
because
fine with being a
Lore's
fangirl.
cool. Aaron Mankey's great. We
Yeah,
both, I
Aaron
think
Mankey's awesome.
everybody here listens to that podcast. So
I
that's
actually
why we're
made
doing a podcast.
I actually made a meme one time and sent it to one of my friends that was just like a picture of him sitting in a chair. And it said, that moment when you're Aaron Mankey, this is Lore.
Very accurate.
Yeah, anyways, so
So
Wow.
moving on.
other famous people,
I know.
Mussolini, Caesar,
Was Mussolini
Cleopatra.
that girl from Sex and the City?
That's right. There's
I actually have a
Miranda,
quote.
There's Mussolini. There's Sarah Jessica Parker,
Wow.
and the other one.
Wow. Wow.
That's right.
Who was that other one though?
You know, the
Sure.
other one.
Yeah.
No, do we have any others?
Yeah,
what-
Yeah,
what are some of the other ones?
I mean, I've got a list here, but like some of
Yeah.
these are just paragraphs and I'm just not going to read.
Yeah, no.
Well, just
well,
read
let me.
the-
I'll
read-
read
you
them.
just
I'll read
read-
them.
read the name.
You've
Yeah.
got it on the Google Doc.
Oh yeah, I do. You're right.
Just read the
Why are
name.
you hurting me like
I'm
this?
so-
I don't
good.
really care so much
Wow.
about their
Podcasting.
life
Wow.
or history. I just want to know their name.
Well, I definitely got a quote from Alfred Hitchcock.
He drank martinis.
He did.
That fat son of a gun.
I mean, he was a genius. Let's be real.
Birds was genius. That movie.
Birds was
that movie.
heckin' genius.
Hold on a sec. We gotta actually talk about this because
What?
Sarah's favorite movie.
Are you gonna tell me your favorite movie is Birds?
No,
Movie's-
no. It's Attack of the Killer Tomatoes.
Oh, okay. That's
Yes.
Beginning of the first movie, it says that because after the movie Birds came out, like people
movie's stupid.
made
People
fun
laughed.
of it, right? They
It's
laughed at
stupid.
it and stuff.
It's stupid.
But then a city was actually attacked by birds in real life, in the real world. And
Like-
so they made Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, and they like put that quote in the beginning where it's like, people laughed because he made this movie,
True.
and then the city was attacked, and then like nobody's laughing now, and that's how the movie starts. It's fucking amazing. That's the best part of the movie. You don't have to watch any of the rest of it.
Just
that
the
part.
beginning. That's fair.
Okay, so I'm gonna read
of the
this. I
Killer
love this George Burns one. I never go jogging. It makes me spill my martini.
That's
That's
it's
a
good
good-
advice.
Yeah.
Don't ever exercise.
Some of these are kind of lame. Oh, okay. So let's talk about Ernest Hemingway. Ernest Hemingway was
Overrated.
Yeah, I mean, chauvinistic douchebag. Yeah.
I
But,
mean,
Everyone's forced to read his stuff in high school, and it's like,
Yeah.
what kind of deal with the devil did this guy make to make me in the 11th grade have to read the importance of being earnest?
I read the.
I didn't actually think.
Wait, who was that?
I don't think that's Hemingway.
Who was that?
I don't remember.
Oh, maybe I'm
I
confused.
mean,
I have the Google.
I
Give me
think
a sec.
that
Who
Hemingway
did- what
got
did Hemingway
his
do? Maybe I'm confused.
end
with
of the
somebody.
bargain out already by the time I was in high school.
Okay,
so I
what's
did not
one
read
thing?
anything.
What's one thing Hemingway did?
I mean, Hemingway,
He was a poet, right?
he was something.
I don't even know who this is.
That was by
What?
Oscar Wilde, who's amazing.
Oh, okay. Never
Yeah.
mind. I take that
Fuck
back.
you.
I take that
Anyways,
back.
no.
Wow.
Ernest Hemingway was like
What did
from
Ernest
the
Hemingway
Bell
do?
Tolls and other works. He the Old Man and the Sea. Is that what it is? Ernest
What?
Hemingway.
I'm more of an Edgar Allan Poe guy.
Oh yeah, I
I'm
love that
more
guy,
of
so.
like a Captain Underpants kind of gal.
He's good too. Edgar
I
Allan Poe definitely
love
drank some
Captain
martinis,
Underpants. That was my summer reading up until like junior high.
Wow. If you look up Ernest Hemingway books, it's all like books about Ernest Hemingway.
Yeah. What kind of? That's what I need. Like I need that kind of PR.
Yeah, The Old Man in the Sea, The Sun Also Rises. The one that I've read was The Old Man in the Sea, or not The Old Man in the Sea, For Whom the Bell Tolls, and I was like really irritated because he killed off. Well, he didn't kill off my favorite character. He built her up to be this awesome character, and then she ended up being like shitty in the end of it. And I was like, and none of the women characters ever are awesome. They like seem like they're gonna be awesome, and then they end up being like facetious in their awesomeness. So like that's what's shitty about him is he's just kind of a douchebag.
Who did the Count of Monte Cristo?
I don't remember, but I actually have that book.
I just hate everything that I was forced to read.
I mean,
You can't force me to do anything.
I mean, The Great
Alexander
Gatsby,
Dumas.
though. Because The
Hate
Great Gatsby
Who?
made me want
Alexander
to
Dumas.
die
Dum-
while I was reading The Great
What a
Gatsby.
last name.
Dumas.
Dumbass.
I mean,
I'm
it's
Mr.
it's
Dumbass.
It's an awesome book. Inspired
What, Count of Monte
Zorro.
Cristo? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It inspired an amazing Simpsons Treehouse of Horror.
Actually inspired a lot of great cocktails.
It did, yeah.
No, I don't know
It
that.
inspired
I'm
a
just
lot of
kidding.
great sandwiches. Monte Cristo.
Yeah,
Love
right.
it.
I mean, y'all finished my sandwiches.
Okay, so let's get back on track. We got way off.
That's a yikes from me, dog.
Okay.
All right.
I'm gonna skip this one by Johnny Carson because I think it's stupid.
I mean,
Nobody watched that show anyways.
This Ernest Hemingway quote about martinis is kind of stupid. But he actually, there is an interesting thing to note, is that there is a Hemingway invented martini called the Montgomery, because I think it's General Montgomery never would go into battle unless there was a 15-1 odds that he would win. And so the...
What a hero.
Yes.
He's like, all right, man. Like, you know, I mean, I guess, like, you know, like, if he's, like, ready to go, it's like, all right, well, we must have, like, 1 million people here. Like, no one's gonna die. Like,
I just imagine, like, a widow putting, like, a wreath around his, like, a tombstone being like, he was so cautious.
I mean, yeah, I guess.
I just imagine like he like getting his battalion like and like they surround like this barrel and this barrel is like full of water and some fish and they all just get their muskets out and they fire and that's what we are naming this martini after.
Why?
Because it's like shooting fish in a barrel, Rusty. That's my joke.
Oh my
war,
god.
War never changes.
I get it now. I feel dumb.
Or doesn't never change.
There's the Homer Simpson one.
Jeffrey
I
Dahmer, I'm
finished
sure
this
he
one.
had a martini once in a while.
So there's this whole, I have this whole, like, paragraph about Ernest Hemingway that I'm not really gonna read.
Yeah, I looked at it.
It does say it's Sir Bernard Law Montgomery. His middle name was Law. Law is my middle name.
Like L-A-W?
Yeah, he was a British general.
I mean, at least it wasn't Sue.
15-1 ratio. Hemingway preferred his cocktails icy cold and reportedly had a clever hack for making the coldest martini in the world.
I put it in the freezer.
Man, they're gonna put that. They're gonna put that on like the Facebook live
Yeah.
hacker.
Right. So I think that pretty much concludes the majority of our famous martini drinkers that we were able to find with our research and stuff. So I think we all have just a little bit of martini left.
No, I don't.
I gotta use the
you don't?
little boys' room here, so that's
shoot.
perfect.
So
We
let's go
round
ahead and
this up.
We're
and
gonna take a pause and then we're gonna
take
come
a
back with our next cocktail. So we are back and we have our last cocktails for the evening. So we ended up, because the martini is such a varied drink, we all kind of went with different orders. So what we have here is Sarah has the modern martini, which is which you will get if you go into a craft cocktail and just order a martini. I have the dirty martini if you just order like a dirty martini, and I'll kind of go over like what the ratios and stuff for that are. And then Christian over here has the Rusty Perfect, which we can't give away the ratios for, but we will give you some info on the drink itself. So how about we start? Let's start with Sarah, and then we'll go me this time, and then Christian.
Wow.
But how about we all take a sip? Let's do
this is the last drink. The last Christmas.
Cheers,
Hopefully
y'all.
not. Hopefully not the last.
Merry
Christmas,
Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Happy Kwanzaa. Happy Festivus.
That was a good drink.
Ramadan. Happy to that. Whatever else you got.
Happy cocktail Lormas.
And most of all, happy
Lormas.
cocktail drinking time.
Merry Christmas. Mary Chrysler. Anyways. Yeah, so this one was pretty smooth, actually. I usually, like, of the martinis that I have had, they usually bite, you know, which is one of the reasons that, like, I'm not a huge fan of spirit forward drinks, but this one's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm really giving credit to, like, the gin that we bought.
A lot of it is that the gin that we did use for this is very, very muted gin, like
It's
I
very
said earlier.
smooth.
It's super smooth. Like, I could drink it totally on the rocks. But yeah, so that's like a classic, well, not a classic, but that's like a modern martini,
Yeah.
which you would get if you went into a really good cocktail bar and ordered a martini just by the name martini.
Yeah. It's definitely not as harrowing as some other martinis I've had.
Yeah, and so why don't you
Proud of
talk
you.
a little bit about, because you have something very different than what we have.
Yeah, so I'm very much not an olive fan. I've never liked olives. Get your olives away from me. I don't want to look at them. Yeah, mine's a lot more. It's almost similar to the Vesper, but I don't have that vodka flavor in mine for sure. But I think I'm just kind of very aware of vodka flavors and when it bites and when it don't. But-
Can I try yours? real
Yeah,
quick?
please
Because
feel free.
I took a little bit of a taste test just because the glass was overfilled. But
Yeah, and then you fill it back up again.
yeah, well, I made too much. This glass is kind of smaller.
Why do you hurt me like this?
You know, I don't normally
Little
drink them with the
sipper
lemon
here.
twists,
Yeah.
but the lemon twist is a really nice touch to like the classic
Yeah.
martini.
So
I like it a lot.
So I'm doing a little taste test here. This is Sarah's modern martini here.
Yeah.
It's got a lemon twist.
I'm very
no
drunk, so
olives.
they're watering mine down a little bit here.
No, this is not watered down at all. So this is
I mean, like, they're
basically-
drinking it before I finish
What's in it?
So basically, it is.
Or what's like the ratios?
It is a 3-to-1 ratio of gin and vermouth, and a lemon twist, and that's it.
It's okay.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan.
Not a fan.
But also, as everyone knows by this point, if you've stuck around to listen, I hate martinis.
Yeah.
But this rusty martini that I have in front of me, this is different.
Yeah, you
This
think
is
so?
different. This is not bad.
Okay.
Well, let's talk about it.
You want to get into it?
Well,
you want to get into
let's-
it? You
I'll
want to
smell
get
it.
nuts?
Before,
I'll smell
Let's
it.
get nuts.
I will
Before we
smell
get
it.
to the rusty martini, let's go to
Oh,
the
right.
classic dirty martini.
All right.
So,
Wow, that
if-
escalated.
if you have ordered, and this is something that's important to go over, there are a million different ways to order a martini. There's the Gibson martini, there's burnt, there's the dirty martini, there's extra dry, there's sweet martinis.
Let me just say, as somebody that's worked in a restaurant, my least favorite way for somebody to order a martini is for them to say to me, I want a martini, but no vermouth, no olives, no nothing. And then I say to them, so you want a glass of vodka? And they're like, no, I want a martini. This drove me insane working at a restaurant. Like, obviously, myself personally, I hate vermouth, but I wouldn't order a martini.
Yeah.
If you want vodka or gin in a glass, and what it is, it's always like, it's always some, like, somebody who knows nothing about cocktails, and they're always like, oh, I just want to, it's all about the glass, really, but that annoys me, and I'm sure other bartenders to no end. That is not a martini, people. If you order just plain vodka shaken in a glass, like,
Yeah.
not a martini.
But there's an elegant way to order that, though. There is. It's, can I get a glass of vodka, chilled, and up?
Up, yeah.
Up,
If you
Yeah.
know that terminology, like, then
Guys.
it's like, all right.
Gentlemen, or ladies,
Wow.
if you go on a date and you say to the waiter, I would like my martini, or I would like a glass of vodka, chilled up, you are gonna sound fucking sophisticated, because most people don't know what the hell that means, and that's kind of the problem. Is like a martini hold of vermouth is just vodka, or it's just gin.
Oh yeah, it's so
Oh, yeah.
dumb, and
Yeah.
and I'm like, that's
And-
not a martini.
And that's kind of like the whole problem with the whole, like, all these famous people that are like, like bow in the direction of France, or like glance at a ball of, vermouth or whatever. It's
Yeah.
like, that's cool. That's really fancy that you love gin straight, but that's all. It's just a really fancy way. It's an edgelordy way of saying that you love gin straight. That's all it is. Which, I mean, I love gin, and
Yeah, I
I don't
mean-
really love it straight.
No.
but-
I mean, we tasted it straight last night. It was passable. for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
certain gins. It depends on the gin, but I wouldn't really want to drink it straight because there's so many cocktails to be had out there. But so moving on to Christian is just demolishing.
Oh,
these olives.
I feel like that's the reason that you wanted that version of
I'm
the
glad I
martini.
got pictures
Oh,
of
yeah.
that cocktail.
It was a good looking cocktail.
Oh yeah, and then like
I'm
now
pretty
it just
drunk
looks
here,
like,
folks.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of olives in here, and I've eaten just about every one of them.
you know, I feel like we should just get like
But this cocktail here,
A
this
ride
is good.
share.
It's, I mean, I like olives, so I really like the like dirty aspect to it. I like that there were 5 of them in here because I ate.
Wait. We're not gonna go to that
Oh,
one yet. We're going
excuse
to mine. Okay, so this is the classic dirty martini. This is the way that I know how to make it, which is basically where you kind of skimp a little bit on the vermouth and a little bit on the vodka, or a little bit on the gin, depending on which spirit you're making it with. I make it with gin. You might make it with vodka, and you add some olive juice. So in this case, we did 2.5. No. We did 2.5 ounces of gin and 3/4 of an ounce of olive brine. That's the word.
Olive brine.
Olive brine, and then 3/4 of an ounce of sweet vermouth. So let me go ahead and have Christian try.
Oh, I'm trying.
this.
Ooh, I get to try this one. Too.
Yeah.
That would be good.
I'll try it, but I'll
It
probably
definitely.
hate it.
Let me. I'm taking a little whiff here. It definitely smells quite a bit different than the one that I have, the old Rusty Special. So this is just like a classic dirty martini.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's probably a little dirtier than your average martini. Most of them, I feel like, would probably put only maybe like 1/2 ounce to 1/4 ounce
It's okay.
of olive brine.
But again, like, just the vermouth kills me inside. I die every time.
We'll get
Every
this
time?
together.
Every time.
Every time.
Yeah. Sarah, do you want to try this just for continuity's sake?
For YOLO reasons,
Yeah.
sure.
Okay.
But I can't promise I'm gonna like those olives. They're staring at me.
I can't pronounce you're gonna like those olives either.
That's right. Because I've had too much to
Heroin.
drink and I can't pronounce anything, really.
That's a yikes from me, dog. I've been watching too much American Idol.
Have you?
You've been watching
When?
The Voice, too?
You don't look like you like it.
I mean, you're not wrong.
It's okay.
That's okay. I mean, like, olive brine is not everybody's thing. I
No.
like salty things. That's why I love like sunflower seeds and things like that.
I can tell.
Spaghetti.
So dirty martinis are really like kind of my thing, and that's what made me love the martini is the dirty martini. So that's like specifically my thing. I love all martinis equally, but I would say I love the dirty martini probably the best. So let's move on to Christian's beverage here.
So now I've tried both now, and I don't know, this Rusty Special, I'm not sure.
It's called the Rusty Perfect Martini.
The Rusty Perfect Martini,
I'm gonna get the branding out
courtesy
there.
of Rusty, is pretty good. And obviously I don't like martinis. I didn't like the dirty. I like the dirty one a little bit more than Sarah's modern day martini, but this one that I have here is quite good. I take a little nip there. It's got nice salty. It's got quite a bit of the brine in there, and I like
Yeah,
that
it
a lot.
does.
I definitely like that. Really complements the taste. I mean, as far as martinis go, I would say this is probably the best one that I would probably ever have. But still, not a fan. Not a fan of the martinis.
Do you like it more than the Vesper or less?
Less.
Less.
I have since the beginning. I would say I've increasingly disliked the drinks.
So Martinez is the top.
Martinez would be the top for me.
So historically, through
I actually have
history,
to agree with
This
you.
isn't bad. I mean, I am going to drink this. It's
Yeah.
and I have eaten every single olive that's in here. And-
I mean, there's one that's in there still. So,
Oh, yeah,
like,
right.
don't say every single one until I see that thing gone.
all right, here you go. This is
So
for Sarah.
the most important thing is I'm not going to give away the portions of the Rusty Perfect Martini because it's a secret recipe.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I will tell you, because it's very visually obvious, and you'll be able to see this in the pictures that we post on our Instagram, is the Rusty Perfect Martini comes with 5 olives, which is a little bit unique. Because normally it comes with a martini comes with 1 or 3 olives. Never an even number, because it's bad luck. There's like a superstition that surrounds it that we'll get into on another episode. But the Rusty Perfect Martini comes with 5. And the reason why is because if you've ever been a martini drinker and you have ordered a martini extra olives, you will get 3 olives, and inevitably some of those olives will be eaten by other people. I'm a little bit drunk.
Yes,
point
I
out-
think we all are.
I'm gonna
But
point out right
this
now
is true about the olives.
You haven't touched your olives yet. Christian's eaten all his olives, and I
They
ain't
were
touching
good.
any of mine.
I'll eat your olives right
Like-
You don't have olives.
Exactly, it's fine.
now.
Like,
yeah,
if you included
olives.
French fries on
Drinking
your
martinis.
martinis, I'd be all over it. French fry martini, sign me the fuck up.
That would be delicious.
But like, get those olives away from me. They look like there's a threatening aura with an olive,
they're
and
like
I'm
little
just not
eyeballs.
into it.
They're
I
like
think
little
the-
goblin eyes.
The closest thing I've ever made to something like that was I made a breakfast drink that had like a garnish of bacon.
Sign
Well, like a
me
Bloody Mary?
up.
No, it was like a
Wake me up.
Before you go.
it was like a
Yeah.
orange juice with like some I can't remember exactly what I ate.
Like a screwdriver?
It was kind of similar to a
what I asked.
screwdriver, but it had a garnish of bacon. And
Bacon's
orange.
a great garnish
Yeah.
for breakfast.
It was very weird. It was a very strange looking cocktail that I posted on my Instagram like a year or two ago.
Yeah.
I don't remember all that went into it, but
Shout out, Hotel Congress, Tucson, Arizona. Every Sunday they do a brunch and they have like a make your own Bloody Mary station, and
Ooh.
and it is fantastic.
Ooh.
I skip the vodka and I go tequila because I'm an animal like that. So
Wow.
Bloody Maria is what that would be called.
Bloody Maria.
But they get all the fixins. You can go the bacon, you get cucumber, olive, cheese on there.
now
whatever,
I'm
man.
feeling like we need to do a Bloody Mary episode in Tucson.
Oh, that'd be tight.
I mean,
Cool thing
I'd
about
allow
our
it.
setup is it's very mobile.
It's very mobile. It's one
Yeah.
microphone.
It's
So yeah.
3 folks, 1 microphone.
That's right. That's a great
So
video.
so I think that pretty much concludes the most of what we were going to talk about today. The main thing is the progression of the martini. To summarize, was it started out as a cocktail that had a bunch of stuff in it, namely sweet vermouth and gin, and then a couple of different additives flavor-wise, and it kind of went on to become kind of a different creature with the dry vermouth, and then this weird habit came from famous people of having no vermouth, which made it basically just straight alcohol, like straight liquor. And now here we are making a podcast about it drunk. Which
I'm
is
sufficiently drunk.
it's pretty much come full circle. I feel like that's
And
what that means, right?
we've definitely
just
got the
kidding.
holiday spirit, and it's
Yeah.
like-
Christmas, and
And we wish you a very, 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 Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Merry
Christmas. Anyways, so the next episode that we're planning on doing, hopefully we'll do this specific episode. Hopefully we'll get onto something else. But we're planning on doing rum, specifically the mojito. So stay tuned for that and look out for that. We're going to plan on doing that on New Year's Day is when that's going to be released. So thank you so much for listening if you've made it this far.
can I just say?
Yeah, if we haven't drunk you on the table yet.
Thanks again for having me.
Yeah.
I really hope to be back. This is Christian again, lead guitarist, Ultra Eagle. Check out the EP coming out December 2020. That's next year. Hold your breath.
Don't hold your breath.
It will come out. I swear to God.
Yeah.
I will make some music. We're gonna go on tour. I'm gonna get Rusty's gonna be in the band too. He didn't mention that, but we're gonna be in a band. So.
And thank you so much for Kristen for joining us. I'm so drunk right now.
Yeah, no, these are real drinks we're drinking here. This is
we had an average of about 3 ounces per drink tonight.
We all probably drank before that. I'm sure. I know I did.
I opted to make something for the sake of pre-gaming just a little bit, but then this is bar before.
Okay, well, anyways, we're going to go ahead and call this the end of the podcast.
Thanks again.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for our rum episode. We're going to be going over the mojito. Our special guest is going to be Lydia Jones. She's an amazing artist that is actually working on a logo for us. So stay tuned for that. Thank you so much and have a great night. Merry Christmas from Cocktail Loop.